What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our top 5 NFL free agents that must be signed. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, taking a look at the landscape of the NFL, we are seeing a lot of teams that have holes that could be patched up with some of the free agents that are still out there on the market looking for a team to be signed. And when free agents are signed nowadays, it's really about helping your team win because you believe you have a shot at the postseason. You believe you have a shot at winning an NFL title. Now, you take a look at some of these teams like the Atlanta Falcons, the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars. These teams, they're not going to be signing these high-priced, these big-name free agents because that's not their goal at this point. They're just trying to get wins. They're trying to get onto the map. They are trying to figure themselves out, where you have teams like the Rams and the Buccaneers and all these other teams that are competing for a Super Bowl. They are the ones that are going to really go after these big-name free agents. So we have our top 5 NFL free agents that must be signed right now. All right, so we're going to start off with some big names here. And starting off, Nick, linebacker Jamie Collins recently being released by the Detroit Lions after he was holding out. Tell us a little bit about that situation and where you kind of see him ending up.
Yeah, so Jamie Collins, he didn't want to be a part of the losing culture that is the Detroit Lions right now. And listen, he might be wrong in this situation for how he's dealing with it, but he played for them for a season. Now he's got released. No one wanted to trade for him, and now he's free to sign wherever he wants. And he's still a free agent, but I think there's a few teams in particular that could definitely use his services. That includes the Kansas City Chiefs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals. And I really like the Cincinnati Bengals here. They're the team that I really like the most. They're a dark horse to get a guy like Jamie Collins. But when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who for us are about to play on Thursday Night Football, they are about to be a 3-1 team in the NFL, and their defense just needs a few more pieces. Well, Jamie Collins fills that void, a big void at linebacker. They only have Logan Wilson there. They need to have another big presence there, and Jamie Collins has played every single linebacking position. Doesn't matter if you want to be a Sam linebacker, a Mike linebacker, a Will linebacker, he can play all 3 positions, and he is going to flourish with them. He's a great guy to command the defense, and I think he could take them even further. The Cincinnati Bengals are definitely a team to look out for with Jamie Collins.
I like Jamie Collins a lot. I liked him with his multiple stints in New England, and I think he does a lot of the things you ask of him, but he also does his own thing, which tends to get him into trouble, and that's obviously what Bill Belichick didn't like. But taking a look at the other teams that you mentioned, I'm going to go with the Steelers here because I think that the Steelers are one of those teams that have great potential, but they are missing pieces. And taking a look at the defensive side of the ball, obviously TJ Watt is out. They lost Bud Dupree in free agency. They haven't seemed to figure that side of the ball out. And then on top of that, they just get handed injuries left and right. And Jamie Collins could be the stabilizing force that they need in the middle of this defense. I think he's going to be able to help them in the run game, really be a run stopper, but also he has the range of motion to really get after pass coverage. And I think he could present problems for players like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and all these other guys that they're going to see throughout the course of the season. I like Jamie Collins, and I think he would be great in Pittsburgh black and gold. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have a former player of theirs up next and talking about guard David DeCastro. DeCastro's still sitting at home waiting for that phone call when there are plenty, and I mean plenty, of offensive lines that could utilize his services. I want to take a look at some of these offensive lines like the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Minnesota Vikings. Nick, out of these 3 teams, which ones make the most sense to you?
Yeah, I really like the Minnesota Vikings. They lost that big game to Cincinnati in week 1, and everybody kind of threw them by the wayside, said, all right, the Vikings aren't going to be competitive this year. Well, they almost beat the Arizona Cardinals in week 2, and they beat the Seattle Seahawks Seahawks handily in week 3. They're on the rise. This team is working extremely well together. The defense, fully healthy, they're showing you just how good they can be. And I think if you add a guy like David DeCastro to this offensive line, it's just going to make them even better because you're going to give Kirk Cousins more time in the pocket to work. You're going to give Alvin Cook a better line to run behind, Alexander Madison as well. I really like the potential for this team if they can just solidify this offensive line a little bit more, and David DeCastro does just that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And another offensive line that has been absolutely putrid and has been for quite some time is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have struggled to protect Russell Wilson. They have struggled to create holes for Chris Carson. These guys are working their asses off trying to create something out of nothing. And at the end of the day, the Seattle Seahawks have to look themselves in the mirror and say, we have to fix this offensive line eventually. Otherwise, we are not going to go back to the Super Bowl where we were just a few years ago. And taking a look at David DeCastro, he is a guard, and a lot of their issues come at the bookends, but he can be a stabilizing force on the offensive line. He is a leader. He was one for many, many years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were regarded as arguably the best offensive line in the NFL during his tenure there. And now taking a look at the Seattle Seahawks, they could absolutely utilize a guy like David DeCastro on their offensive line and help him protect players like Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, so on and so forth. So I like the fit there. And, you know, we had the Patriots here. I think the Patriots issue is more about just getting Trent Brown healthy, and I think it all will be served well there. Talking about getting healthy, Ezekiel Ansah is ready to go right now while he sits at home waiting for that phone call. And we have a couple of teams here that make a lot of sense for him. One we've already talked about a little bit, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, and the Dallas Cowboys. Nick, which one of these teams makes the most sense for Ezekiel Ansah?
Yeah, I think these are really good options here, but I think we're both in agreement on this one. The Dallas Cowboys are an absolute no-brainer after losing DeMarcus Lawrence for the season. You have Randy Gregory, who's back and forth with injuries, and you need somebody else that you can rely on to get pressure on the quarterback. Right now, you take your number 1 pick, Micah Parsons, and take him from the middle linebacker spot and make him a defensive end. It's working, but it's not ideal. It's not what you want to do. And you don't have to do it if you have a guy like Ezekiel Ansah. This is a guy who was a sack master for Detroit. He didn't get it going in Seattle, and everybody wants to discount him for that. This guy has such freakish athletic talent that can be utilized by Dallas. I think that he cannot be wasted any longer. He needs to be on the Dallas Cowboys. This is a team on the rise, and I think he should be a part of it.
I'm in 100% agreement with you. DeMarcus Lawrence was a huge loss for this Dallas Cowboys defense, and while they haven't really struggled rushing the passer without him, Ezekiel Ansah would provide a much-needed presence where they can get Micah Parsons back to his original role, like you talked about. I like this pick here, and I think it makes the most sense, but I also want to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Zadarius Smith is on IR, and this pass rush has been absolutely abysmal. Without Zadarius Smith doing all of the work, they haven't been able to get pressure on any quarterback at all. And in fact, they almost lost the game to the San Francisco 49ers because Jimmy Garoppolo was sitting behind his offensive line, just making a picnic out there, waiting for somebody to come near him. But they never had that opportunity. So I think if you get Ezekiel Ansah, who did play within the division, he would get to see the Detroit Lions once again. I believe that the Packers would really benefit from him coming over and giving them some sort of force while Zadarius Smith comes on the mend. And hopefully they can have both of these guys coming off of opposite ends when Zadarius Smith comes back. Next up, we have wide receiver John Brown, who had a really good role carved out for him in Las Vegas, and then all of a sudden things went sideways with the front office, which seems to happen more recently with the front office and wide receivers, talking about Antonio Brown just a couple of seasons ago. But now John Brown is sitting at home waiting for a call, and there are some teams that could really utilize the services of a speedster wide receiver who still has a lot more to give. And talking about some of those teams, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Tennessee Titans. And Nick, I want you to talk to me a little bit about the Titans and why they're here.
Yeah, the Titans have had some bad injuries the last couple of weeks. A.J. Brown going out, and then Julio going out towards the end of the game, and now we learned during the week that he's probably not going to play against the New York Jets in week 4. Well, this is not a good sign. You get Josh Reynolds back, but do you really want Josh Reynolds to be your wide receiver 1? It's not ideal. And having a guy like John Brown, who's been the one, been the two, he's been around the league, he knows how to play in different systems. He's proven that he can play in different systems. Why wouldn't you want a guy like this? You don't need your receivers to be the focal point when you have Derrick Henry. And if you have a guy like John Brown there to fall back on, I think that is more than sufficient. So I think that the Titans are one of the best options for him right now.
Absolutely. I love the Titans pick here, and I think that they are definitely a team to watch out for. But when you take a look at a wide receiver needy team that, has a chance at something, the New Orleans Saints scream out to you like a fat woman in the opera because they are literally working with bits and pieces that they have picked from around the league, hoping that they can put a game plan together. And it worked against the New England Patriots, and it's worked so far. But this is not going to be the team that they can win with moving forward. When you have the Buccaneers and you have the Carolina Panthers in your division, you are going to need as much firepower on the offensive side of the ball as you can possibly have. Michael Thomas is going to be coming back after week 6. Once you get him back, things are going to start to stabilize. But if you have John Brown and Michael Thomas with Alvin Kamara in the backfield, with Jameis Winston's arm, you are going to have an absolutely dynamic offense that can compete with some of the best offenses out there. On top of how dominant this defense has shown themselves to be, I believe that they would end up being a top 10 team without question. John Brown could do that if they give him a call. I like this fit here a lot, and I'd be interested to see what he could do with Jameis Winston. And our final free agent that we believe needs to be signed right now, running back Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley, obviously with the knee issues, but has not shown on the field that he is slowing down. People are afraid of what the medical history has to say, but it hasn't shown itself on the field. In fact, he has not done anything to say that he can't play right now. So I believe that Todd Gurley needs to be given an opportunity to play, and there's a couple of teams that really scream out either goal line back or a full-time starting running back. Nick, why don't you tell us which teams those are?
Yeah, so we have the 49ers and the New Orleans Saints as honestly the two only options out there because most teams just don't need a running back right now. And I really like the New Orleans Saints for the sole fact that Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs in the league, but he's not the best goal line back. They need another Latavius Murray, and Todd Gurley can be that. He's a guy who's had 18 touchdowns in a season. He's a guy who's known for being one of the best goal line backs and has a nose for the end zone. This is who you need to offset Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara can get every single carry up until the red zone. And then once you're in the 20s, that's when you need a guy like Todd Gurley who's so dynamic. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he can do whatever you want, whatever you need him to do. He's somebody that you have to plan all different ways to play against. And you're not just screaming, I'm running the ball with Todd Gurley. I think he makes your team very dynamic at the same time as offering you a lot of efficiency in the red zone. I really like what he could do for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Todd Gurley, as much as I want to get on the field, I don't know if I want to go to Santa Clara. Taking a look at where the running backs have been, JaMychal Hasty is on IR. Raheem Mostert is out for the season. Eli Mitchell got hurt in his only start so far. Trey Sermon has been absolutely abysmal. There is not much that these running backs in San Francisco can do. So Todd Gurley, while he might want to play, San Francisco may just be a death wish for him at this point. But nonetheless, I think that they would be happy to have Todd Gurley come in and be the stabilizing force in the backfield behind Jimmy Garoppolo. Because when you have a running back that has the threat in the pass and the run game, then you have a dynamic offense where they can't just double up Deebo Samuel, where they can't triple cover all your wide receivers and make you have to run the ball down their throat knowing that you can't. Todd Gurley's one of those guys that, again, has shown that he still has what it takes. People have to get over the fact that his knee is going to be an issue down the road. It's not right now, and let him do some work for you while he still can. I don't understand that the threat of what will happen in the future should preclude him from playing right now. And I think that's something that these GMs have to really focus on, especially when you're looking at competing this season. So I think Todd Gurley with the San Francisco 49ers makes a lot of sense here.
And you also have to look, this guy's still looking to get revenge on the Rams for how the Rams treated him towards the end of his tenure, how they didn't give him his money and they didn't want anything to do with him. Now, if he gets to play for the 49ers, he gets to get some revenge on them playing for a very playoff ready team in the 49ers. I think it's a great fit all around. I think that it checks off a lot of his boxes as well. Personally, I think this is definitely a good spot, a solid landing spot for Todd Gurley.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below where you see players like Jamie Collins, David DeCastro, Ezekiel Ansah, John Brown, and Todd Gurley signing. Let us know if there's any free agents that you want us to talk about in an upcoming video. I'd be happy to talk about them with you guys. All right. Well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.